Hi everyone and welcome to DIY with Nadia. Today, Leo and I decided, Leo, you gotta look at the camera. Leo and I decided to make some easy and fun Valentine's wreaths. Let's get started. For this very sweet Valentine's wreath, I'm going to start out with some pink and white baby breath along with some of these yellow berries. Then I'm going to be using this wooden bead heart wreath from the Dollar Tree along with some ribbon. This one is pink Ivory ribbon, and then this beautiful ribbon which is 1.5-inch wired edge. I got this one from Craft Outlet. It is ivory in the background with some little polka dots. You can hardly tell, but it matches really nicely with the wooden beads. Let's start with the florals. I'm going to use 4 of these pink ones. I'm not going to be using the greenery, even though I didn't mind the greenery here, but it's not in very good shape. So I'm just going to cut the stems. Then I'm going to need 4 stems of the white and just 2 stems of the berries. Let's set up our bouquet. First, I'm going to take the longest stems, and those are going to be at the end. And if you feel like you need to hot glue them, more than likely, if these are Dollar Tree flowers, you're going to have to. So some hot glue and put the stem in. Then 2 pinks. I want the yellow to be right underneath that top white bundle. Then I'm bringing in the 2 pink. I want these bundles to be kind of close, and then the white on top. And then here I'm just going to bend it, and I'm going to do the same thing to this side. Because we have beads going on and it's not a flat surface, I'm going to zip tie each bundle separately. I'm using my 6-inch zip ties for these. When you are sure your flower bundles are really secure, go ahead and cut the tails off and then cut excess greenery off. At this point, you can definitely grab some floral wire or 2 more zip ties. I have been loving using the zip ties because they're just so easy to work with and they keep things super secure. And now I'm just zip tying my floral piece, and I'm going to put my zip tie above the original one, and of course it's going to go in between the beads. My florals are on, and now it's time to make our bow. I'm just going to make 2 simple bows and overlap them. First things first, let's choose how long we want the tail to be, and then we're just going to loop and loop. I'm clamping the bow together, and now let's take the other ribbon. We're just going to overlay that, make 2 small loops. Gotta glue right there in between and right here. And now let's just a little dot here and there. Grabbing another piece of ribbon, and this one about 2-3 inches. You just want to be comfortable when you're bringing it together. Going to put a dot of glue right here. And now I'm just going to bring it back, squeezing things in the back, bringing it together. We have a beautiful bow going on. Let's get some hot glue inside here and right there. Hot glue it together. And I'm going to hot glue my bow on top right here in the center, right on top of that greenery. And let's attach. The reason I did not make the bow too tiny in the center is because I wanted all that greenery covered up. Now I'm just going to take the pink ribbon and put a little bit of hot glue on it, really lightly. And then I'm going to put it over the other one right in the center, and then I'm going to cut it on an angle. I'm going to do the same thing with the other tail. Make sure that it's the same size as the other one and cut on a little angle. To hang this wreath, I'm grabbing a jute cord, going to tie it on one side and then tie it off on the other side, and you have a very elegant hanging loop. For this wreath, we are going to go black, white, and red. We're going to be using a pair of socks out of all things, and these are like the really high knee-high socks. And I did get these at the Dollar Tree. Then 2 of these heart picks a foam wreath form that's 10 inches, and then some white 1.5-inch ribbon that's wired on the edges. I like to use the one from Costco. I already did this part, and that's to kind of carefully wiggle where you see the seam in one of these wreaths and take it apart, but do not pull it. We don't want to hurt it. Now I'm just going to cut the toe of the sock, and I'm going to wiggle the sock right into the wreath. Then the other side. I have this part right here towards the top. Next, I'm going to take a piece of the packing tape, and I'm going to bring the endings together using the tape. I've tried hot glue before. It does not work, but tape works the best. You can use some duct tape, whatever tape you have on hand. I'm just going to draw an invisible line and find my center, and that's where I'm going to hot glue the sock ending. And now I'm just going to dot the hot glue because I want it to be a little sporadic, and I don't want it to be too tight because all of this is a little bit on the looser side. So I'm just going to do little dots of hot glue, and it's going to hold in place. And now it's really hard to tell where that line is. Next, I'm just going to pull this in and hot glue it on this side. I'm overlaying that and bringing it to this side. Since this part is in the back, you can either cut it out or just tuck it in, hot glue it, and make one smooth line. All right, look at this. We have a beautiful wreath. Now I'm going to take my little hearts, and now I'm just going to lay them out just like that. At this point, you can attach it. You can take it out of this clip, but the thing is, when you take it out of the clip, it's going to lose the way it kind of is laid out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it the way it is. Grab a zip tie, and I'm going to go where I kind of lug this one in and lug this one in. There you go. I hope you can see the zip tie. It kind of caught on both of these, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get it nice and tight. And this is what we have so far. Now it's time to make our bow. As always, let's measure the tail we want. And then we're going to make a 4-loop bow. I think this will look super cute. Going to hot glue everything in place just with a dot of hot glue here and there. Then cutting off another piece of ribbon. I'm kind of keeping it on the bigger side in the middle because I want this part covered. So let's just do this part. And I'm going to kind of wiggle it in, but not too much. Then I'm going to scrunch it right here, kind of making a little wave. Bring this part in. Look how pretty this is looking. Cut off the excess tail. More hot glue in the back. And let's hot glue it to our actual wreath. Let me make sure that it covers everything in the back. Look at this. You can't see anything in the back. At this point, you can definitely leave it as is, but because we only have the hearts that are red on the outside, I kind of would like to balance things off. I'm going to grab a red heart, and this is just a vase filler from the Dollar Tree. They come in a pack of 24. A little hot glue, put it right in the center of the bow. What do you think? I think this wreath turned out so super cute. This is one of those wreaths that if you're a beginner, this is perfect for you, and it's going to turn out beautiful. Now you can either use one of these foam wreath forms and start with the flowers in the center and make your way out. But I wanted it to really bring out Valentine's, so I'm going to be using this as my wreath base. It does have the word love on it. We are just going to pop it off, and as you saw, that kind of popped off really easily. The hanging loop for this wreath, already taken care of. It's stapled to the back. For the flowers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with the borders. And my borders are going to be ivory. They're going to go on the outside, nice and tight next to each other, and then on the inside. And then I'm going to fill this part with the pink ones. Let's get started. Since this space is so small, I am going to put the pink one in, and then the white one I want to be all the way at the edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom section. And now you just start filling them in. This is how it's filling in so far. How beautiful. And I'm just going to continue doing it a section at a time. Nice and heavy on the hot glue. And just fill it in. At a certain point, there's this big area right here, and we're going to double up on the roses. So this one, I'm just going to do a rose at a time. All right, just look at how gorgeous and simple this wreath is. We're done with this side. We are about to do the same thing on the other side. Look at this. It looks like frosting on a cake or something because of the foam flowers. So super cute. At this point, you can either maybe do a little bow, but make sure the bow is very elegant and light. What I'm going to do is something different. I found this pearl garland at the Dollar Tree, and this is an ivory color, so I thought that would work really well. And then I'm going to just hot glue really lightly to the foam roses, the ivory on top of the pink, just like that. And I'm just going to give a little bit of hot glue to the big pearls on there, and I'm very loosely going to put this on. And that's it, with the pearls giving the wreath that last piece of elegance. I'm all done with this wreath. For this wreath, I'm going to be using this foam heart wreath that we've all seen at the Dollar Tree. If you have that in your area, then I'm going to use some beautiful velvet ribbon. And then at this point, grab whatever red and white florals, maybe little berries, whatever you have on hand. I have some of these pom-poms left over from Christmas that are red and white. Perfect. I have one pretty white rose, two red roses, and then I have this bouquet that has hearts in it. This is also from the Dollar Tree. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little pick, which is absolutely adorable, and I'm going to remove this metal part. Next thing you're going to need is some flowers. Cut those down if you have those. And then 3 of these hearts. For this bouquet, I decided to leave on the greenery. As with all Dollar Tree items, make sure your pieces are glued on well. The heart is really holding on well to this green part, but not to the actual stem. So I'm going to just do a little hot glue, and I'm going to take a few minutes to hot glue everything in place. Now let's put our bouquet together. One of my hearts had a little bit of baby breath on it. I'm going to use that as my top heart. Then I'm putting the next 2 hearts to the sides of that one. Then I'm bringing my pom-poms in. And then between the higher pom-poms and the lower pom-poms, I'm bringing some of these roses. And I'm going to bend them forward just a little bit. Same thing with this red rose. Basically, when you're putting a bouquet together, you need to layer the colors. If you have 2 colors, do red, white, or whatever the order you're going in. And now the white one, everything looks good. Grab that zip tie and let's zip tie this bouquet together. And about 1 inch from the zip tie, I'm going to cut all the greenery. Grabbing another zip tie, I'm going to go above the zip tie I have on my bow, and I'm going to zip tie to the actual heart. Now that our bouquet is in place, let's make the bow. This velvet ribbon is only 1 yard and is 2.5 inches in width, so it's not a big chunk of ribbon. This is all you get, but we don't need a lot for this one. I'm just going to make a bow. I decided to bring this bow together with floral wire just because of the fabric. And so let me just squeeze this in. And let's bring this bow together and twist it in the back. So I just made a very simple bow. I'm going to cut the other side of the tail. And now I'm just attaching the bow to the actual wreath form. And as you can see, it needs something right here. So what I decided to do is I'm going to grab one of the pom-poms that I have in the back. I'm going to clip that off. That was hidden anyway. And I'm just going to hot glue it to the center of the bow. Oh, well, this is just getting cuter by the minute. Now we're going to make some dovetails. So just fold your ribbon in half. And there you go. I decided to make the bow a little shorter just because of the proportions of the actual heart wreath. So I'm just cutting down the tail. There you go. I think it turned out so super cute and a little different using the Dollar Tree foam heart. To hang the wreath, I decided to bring in another piece of ribbon and I'm going to cut this part off. Mine looks good here, but if you cut it off and a little bit of foam shows, just throw some hot glue on here and then scatter some red glitter and it's going to cover that up. Because of the balancing of all that weight being on this side, I'm just going to grab my piece of red ribbon and I'm going to tie it just right here. And then I'm going to, of course, hide that knot in the back. There you go. And this is how I'm going to hang the wreath. For the scarf wreath, I'm going to be using a 10-inch foam wreath form, an infinity scarf or a regular scarf, whatever you can get your hands on, some dahlia flowers, a beautiful rose clip, but you can definitely use whatever flowers you have on hand that will match the scarf print that you get. And then I will also be using some 8-inch zip ties. Since I'm using an infinity scarf for this wreath, I'm actually going to go ahead and cut the seam. Next, I'm going to find where my seam is and I want that to be on the inside. I'm actually going to just double my scarf so it's a little bit thicker so I can cover the green. Let's take the tag off. Then a few inches in, I'm just going to grab my scarf and whichever way you're going, you want to make sure that the seam is at the bottom so that every time we come around, we're going to cover that seam and we're going to go around. With the one I started, I'm going to put it across, and then the one I'm ending with, I'm going to put it the other way. And all I'm going to do is just use a zip tie. You don't even need hot glue at this point. And zip tie it in place, nice and tight. And since we're going to have a big flower right here in the center, I'm going to just push that little part down. I cut off anything that was sticking a little bit too much, and now I just have a wrapped little wreath. I want this to be a very elegant Valentine wreath, so I'm actually not even going to be using any of the greenery. And I'm going to just use 6 of these stems, and I'm cutting them fairly long because I want them to go over so I can unite them right here in the center. Now I'm going to pick the longest dahlia flowers and I'm going to put them as my ending flowers. Then I'm going to have 2 more and 2 more. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue on each of the stems and hot glue them to the inside of the flower. When I'm done with that, I'm going to just bend the flower right there in that little part. Now let's bring our bouquet together. Long, short, short, make a little triangle. Long, short, short, make a little triangle. When your flowers are together, we're going to see where this is going to fit. And then I'm going to bend them all together just like this. Just about 45-degree angle so that they lay really nicely on our wreath form. I'm going to once again grab a zip tie and I'm going to zip tie everything nice and tight. Cutting off the tail. Now I'm actually going to take this clip off, and what I like to do in these big flowers is I know it's probably glued, but I'm also going to give a little bit of hot glue on the inside, hot glue on the outside, a very generous amount. And I'm actually going to cut off a little bit of the stem that is showing, but don't forget that I glued it in place. I just want this flower to be a little bit on the flatter side. Now I'm adding a lot more glue to the actual petals, and I'm just going to put this beautiful flower in place. And look how this works together. Even though we have a wild print going on over here on the wreath, the solid colors of the flowers and the simple colors of the flowers really make this wreath work. Now you can just put a jute cord in the back or a floral wire, and we can hang this wreath. Leo, what did you think of all the wreaths? Do you have a favorite? I was wondering if you guys had a favorite too. Let me know in the comments below. If you are not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing for more wreath tutorials like this one. And of course, if you would like to see more wreaths right now, Leo has prepared two for you right here so you can continue watching more Valentine's wreaths. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you in our next video. Mwah. Bye, everyone. Mwah.